Every time you chase, every time you beg for clarity, every time you try to convince someone to see your worth, you send a message that you don't believe you have it. And people feel that energy before they hear a single word from you. Attraction isn't destroyed by distance, it's destroyed by the loss of dignity. You cannot inspire love through pursuit, you inspire it through presence. The moment you stop chasing, something changes in the dynamic. You stop being the emotional beggar, and you start becoming the emotional prize. And the truth is, people are drawn to stability, especially when Barnes has defined the relationship. When you pull back, not with anger, not with bitterness, but with clarity and calmness, you create an energy that commands respect. That's when curiosity awakens. That's when regret begins to stir. But this isn't about playing games. It's about reclaiming power from a attachment, the kind of power that comes when you finally say, I am enough, even if you never come back. That sentence alone changes the way you walk, the way you talk, the way you breathe, because your worth stops depending on someone else's validation. And that is the ultimate reattraction form about the self-certainty. See, love cannot flow toward neediness. Neediness suffocates desire. It replaces curiosity with obligation. When you chase, you trying to solve your own insecurity by controlling someone else's freedom. And that never ends well. But when you step back, when you stop explaining in innocence, when you stop trying to prove your side of the story, you shift the emotional frame. You say, without words, I trust my value enough to let you miss me. And that's when the dynamic flips, because mystery returns. The same mystery that first attracted him begins to reappear. He starts to wonder on a hat you redoing, what you refeeling, whether you still care. But this time, it's not because you reperforming it, it's because you at peace. And peace is the most attractive state a person can embody. You don't reattract a man by talking louder. You reattract him by speaking less and becoming more focused, more disciplined, more fulfilled. Every second you invest in your growth is a signal that says, I am not waiting for love, I am preparing for alignment. That shift is magnetic. It draws people in without effort because it carries strength that cannot be faked. Your silence will teach him more about your worth than your words ever could. But remember, silence is not absence. It's presence without pressure. It's the refusal to beg for energy that isn't being freely given. When you pull back, your absence creates emotional tension. That tension is what forces reflection. He begins to feel the weight of your absence, and that weight begins to reveal your value. But here's the truth. This isn't just about getting him back. It's about getting you back. The version of you that forgot her worth in the process of trying to be chosen. The version that settled for mixed signals, late replies, half efforts, and broken promises. The version that believed silence meant rejection, when sometimes it's just an invitation to rise higher. Reattraction doesn't start with a text. It starts with transformation. It's not how do I make him see me again? It's how do I become someone even I can look away from? That shift from validation to self-respect is where your true glow begins. Because men and people in general are drawn to those who move with inner certainty. You don't need to convince anyone of your worth when you live in a way that reflects it. Take your focus off I am, and redirect it toward mastery, emotional mastery, physical discipline, spiritual alignment. Let your silence be your statement. Let your growth be your response. Let your energy speak the truth that words never could. I am not chasing love, I am becoming love. And when he sees you again, he won't just see the same person who used to wait for him. He'll see someone different, someone grounded, composed, radiant, someone who doesn't need attention to feel alive. And that difference will hit him harder than any message you could ever send. Because true reattraction happens when you stop trying energy to recreate the past and start embodying the future. Understand this, you do not lose people who are meant to see your value. You only lose the version of yourself that believed you had to earn it. So, stop running after validation and start walking in purpose. That's where power lives. When you stand firm in your silence, when your boundaries speak louder than your emotions, you become untouchable. And in that quiet strength, attraction finds its way back not because you chased it, but because you became the kind of person who no longer needs to. That's how you re-attract him. Not by reaching out, but by rising up. Every time you chase someone, you quietly declare that your worth depends on their recognition. You may not say it aloud, but your actions whisper it through every double text, every anxious check of your phone, every attempt to decode silence. What you were really chasing is not the person, but the validation that comes from being wanted. Yet the moment you chase, you tell yourself that you are not enough without their approval, and that belief kills your power. Chasing never creates connection, it only creates distance. Because attraction thrives on respect, and respect withers when one person begins to beg for emotional crumbs. When you run after someone, you invert the balance of energy, you make their attention a prize, and your peace the price. You tell them, you lead, I'll follow. You withdraw, I'll panic. You disappear, I'll chase. That dynamic bar ends well. It doesn't inspire love. It inspires comfort for them and confusion for you. The truth is simple but hard to accept. People value what requires effort, not what is constantly available. The more you chase, the less space you leave for them to feel the loss of you. Space is what makes realize our absence. Silence is what reminds them of your value. But when you fill every gap with pursuit, with explanation, with emotional pleading, you take away the very thing that would have pulled them back, the mystery of your absence. To stop chasing is not to stop caring. It is to send to proving. It's to reclaim the energy you've been pouring into someone else's uncertainty and reinvest it into your own growth. You stop asking, why aren't they choosing me? And start asking, why do I keep choosing what doesn't choose me back? That question alone shifts the entire trajectory of your life. Because now you are not seeking validation, you are seeking alignment. When you stop chasing, you learn to sit with discomfort. You learn that silence won't break you. You learn that not knowing is part of strength. And as your emotional tolerance grows, so does your power. You begin to realize that chasing was never about love, it was about fear. The fear of being alone, the fear of not being enough, the fear of being forgotten. But once you confront those fears, they lose their hold on you. Let's be honest, the chase comes from insecurity, not passion. It's the illusion that if you just try harder, they'll finally see your worth. But the truth is, real worth doesn't need to be seen, it radiates. The right person doesn't need convincing. They feel your value in your calm, your boundaries, your silence. Chasing says, I'll do anything to be chosen. Standing still says, I already am. Stopping the chase doesn't mean giving up on love. It means giving up on losing yourself for it. It means saying, I want connection, but not at the cost of my self-respect. And that kind of strength transforms your entire aura. People can sense it. They see it in your eyes, in the way you speak, in how little you need to prove anything. That quiet assurance is magnetic. It draws people in without effort because it communicates, I don't need you to complete me, I'm already whole. When you stop chasing, you create space for clarity. You start to see who genuinely values you and who was only entertained by your effort. You start noticing the difference between attention and intention. And you begin to realize that some people were never rejecting you. They were reflecting your own lack of boundaries. Every time you said yes when you wanted to say no, every time you ACC and DR at confusion as connection, you trained them to take without giving. But the moment you stop, the dynamic collapses. You see, silence is not weakness. It is strategy. It's the energy reset that allows truth to reveal itself. When you withdraw, you force the other person to face the echo of their OWRWN choices. Maybe they realize what they lost. Maybe they don T. Either way, you win because you've chosen yourself. There is immense dignity in walking away with peace instead of chasing with desperation. It's not pride, it's protection. You protect your energy, your self-esteem, your sanity. You teach people that your presence is earned through consistency, not pity. You teach yourself that you can survive rejection and still glow, that you can let go and still rise. And when you do, when you truly stop chasing, something shifts inside you. You begin to attract differently because your E10DR energy no longer says, I need. It says, I choose. It says, I am not chasing what runs, I am attracting what stays. That vibration changes everything. Remember this, value isn't proven by pursuit, it's revealed through composure. You don't chase love, you embody it. You don't beg for attention, you command it through self-respect. When you stop running after what is uncertain, what is meant for you finally has room to find you. So pause, breathe, step back. Let silence speak the truth that words cannot. Because when you stop chasing, you stop losing yourself. And when you stop losing yours, bar and elf, everything and everyone that truly belongs to you will find its way back. Withdraw your attention. Silence is power, not punishment. When you pull your attention away, you are not being cruel. You are being clear. You are saying without words, my energy is valuable and I refuse to speak on it where it's not respected. There's nothing manipulative about silence when it's rooted in self-respect. It's not about making someone chase you. It's about reclaiming the space that you've been carelessly giving away. Attention is currency in every relationship. What you focus on grows. When you constantly give attention to someone who gives you confusion in return, you re-watering weeds and calling it love. You teach people how to treat you by what you continue to tolerate. And sometimes the only language left to speak is silence, not because you've ever run out of words, but because you finally found your worth. Silence is not absence. It is presence without permission. It is energy that no longer entertains chaos. When you stop explaining, stop defending, stop overcompensating, you shift the dynamic. You stop dancing to the rhythm of someone else's inconsistency and start moving to the tempo of your own peace. That's where power lives, not in reaction, but in restraint. See, people get addicted to your attention. They get comfortable knowing you will always reach out, always check in, always fix what they broke. But when you withdraw, you interrupt that pattern. Suddenly, energy that once flowed toward them stops and they feel it. That silence becomes heavy, it echoes, it forces them to confront what they took for granted. And that is when realization begins. But your silence isn't about making them feel guilty. It's about reminding yourself that you don't emotional access to anyone who misused it. You are not punishing them. You are protecting your peace. You are saying, if my presence isn't appreciated, my absence will speak louder. That's not bitterness. That is emotional maturity. The world teaches you to speak, to fix, to explain. But true wisdom can enable hours when to be quiet. Silence has a way of revealing truths that words often blur. When you stop chasing, when you stop trying to convince, you allow time and distance to reveal who truly values you. Those who care will notice the void. Those who don't will enjoy the silence. Either way, you win B+% because you finally see who stands with you when your energy isn't constantly feeding them. Withdraw your attention and you will see who notices your absence versus who was only using your presence. That's the beauty of silence. It filters effortlessly. No confrontation, no drama, just distance that clarifies everything. And while they left wondering why you've gone quiet, you'll be rediscovering yourself, your peace, your focus, your strength. There's a deep calm that comes when you stop trying to manage other people's emotions. You stop texting paragraphs hoping for closure. You stop aiming what they already understand, but choose to ignore. You stop fighting for connection in places that only drain you. Instead, you redirect that attention inward into your growth, your discipline, your purpose. That shift turns silence into fuel. You start building, improving, expanding. The energy that once begged for attention now builds your empire. And here is the truth people feel when your focus changes. They sense when your energy no longer revolves around them. They might not admit it, but they notice. Suddenly, your silence becomes louder than your words ever were, because silence is not nothing. It is everything they took for granted now missing. It's the sound of boundaries being enforced. It's the echo of respect returning home. But silence requires strength. It's easier to react than to withdraw. It takes real discipline to remain still when your emotions beg you to rebana knock out, to stay quiet when your ego wants to explain, to let things unfold instead of forcing resolution. That restraint is what separates the powerful from the desperate. Power doesn't chase. Power observes. It acts when necessary and retreats when peace is at stake. In your silence, you are not in connection. You retesting its depth. The right person mistake your withdrawal for disinterest. They'll understand it as reflection. They'll meet your stillness with effort, not ego. But the wrong person, they'll fade away, revealing that they were never anchored in substance to begin Y and bar and deech. And that clarity, the kind that only silence can bring. So stop fearing silence. Start using it. Use it to restore your balance, to protect your mental space, to remind yourself that peace is your priority. Use it to show that your energy isn't free, it's earned through consistency and care. Because when your silence comes from strength, it becomes impossible to ignore. Don't confuse withdrawal with indifference. Indifference says, I don't care. Withdrawal says, I care, but not at the expense of myself. That distinction is everything. Because self-worth doesn't scream for a tent and be on. It calmly walks away when it's not respected. And in that walk, you reclaim every piece of a self that chasing made you forget. Withdraw your attention not to hurt, not to manipulate, but to heal, to rebuild your power quietly, to remind the world that your energy is a privilege, not a anti. When you master silence, you master yourself. And that mastery will attract what words never could: respect, peace, and love that recognizes your worth without needing to be reminded. So let your silence speak, not as revenge, but as revelation, because sometimes the loudest message you will ever send is the one you never say. Rebuild your identity. Self-worth makes you magnetic again. When you lose yourself chasing someone else's attention, you begin to live from a borrowed sense of value. You measure your worth through how they see you, how often they text, how deeply they care, how quickly they respond. But the truth is, no one can make you feel worthy for long if you've forgotten who you are without them. The real work begins not in winning them back, but in rebuilding the version of you that forgot her own power. Rebuilding your identity doesn't start with reinvention. I'm boring starts with remembering. Remembering who you were before the anxiety, before the overthinking, before you made someone else the center of your peace. You were strong before they noticed you, and you will be strong long after they stop. Self-worth is not created through someone revealed when their absence no longer breaks you. When your worth depends on attention, you become addicted to validation. You start performing, saying what they want to hear, acting how they want you to act, all in the hope that they'll stay. But every performance chips away at your authenticity. You lose the raw, confident version of yourself that once attracted them in the first place. That is why rebuilding matters, because real attraction begins when you stop performing and start living truthfully again. The process is not glamorous. It's quiet, often lonely, and deeply confronting. You will have to sit with the parts of yourself you abandoned, the dreams you postponed, the standards you lowered, the hobbies you forgot. You will have to rebuild your routine around you again. That's where confidence is born, not in what people think of you, but in the consistency of showing up for yourself, when no one is watching. Rebuilding your identity means shifting focus from approval to alignment. It's no longer about, do they like me? But do I respect who I am becoming? That single shift changes everything. Because the woman who respects herself becomes radiant, not because she's trying to be seen, but because she finally sees herself. You become magnetic again when you rebuild from self-respect, not resentment. You stop chasing closure and start creating clarity. You stop proving your value and start living it. That's when your energy transforms from anxious to assured, from Neba and Edie to noble, from reactive to intentional. People can feel that. They may not understand what changed, but they sense it. Your stillness, your confidence, your peace. Self-worth doesn't just shout, it whispers. It's in how you say no without guilt, how you walk away from uncertainty without explaining any energy yourself, how you choose solitude over disrespect. That magnetism, the kind that doesn't chase attention, but effortlessly commands it. When you carry yourself with inner certainty, you make people lean in without even trying. But to reach that state, you must stop identifying yourself through someone else's lens. You are not who they made you feel like. You are who you choose to become after the disappointment. Rebuilding identity means rewriting your story, one decision, one boundary, one moment of self-control at a time. You start small, wake up earlier, take care of your body, master your mind, pursue something that belongs only to you. Each of these acts builds internal gravity. And that gravity is what draws everything meant for you back into orbit. When you rebuild, you begin to attract differently. You stop attracting people who need to be convinced because your energy no onga seeks approval. You start attracting those who value depth, consistency, and calm because your presence no longer says, I'll do anything to be chosen. It says, I choose wisely. That calm confidence is irresistible, not just to others, but to yourself. And here's what no one tells you. The glow you read chasing through love already lives inside you. It's the light that returns when you stop begging for attention and start pouring effort into purpose. Every time you choose growth over gossip, peace over drama, and boundaries over chaos, that inner light gets stronger. It becomes your new identity, grounded, centered, magnetic. Understand this self-worth doesn't come from affirmations alone, it comes from evidence. You rebuild it by doing hard things, by keeping promises to yourself, by proving through action that you are no longer available for mediocrity. Every disciplined rewires your self-image. Every moment of self-respect whispers, I am enough. And that inner knowing changes the way you walk through the world. When you rebuild your identity, you no longer need to be loud about your power. Your energy speaks for you. Your silence carries confidence. Your speak comes your introduction. People feel it when they meet you. They sense the difference between someone who needs love and someone who is love. That's real magnetism, quiet, grounded, unshakable. So if you feel lost, start rebuilding. Piece by piece, day by day. Don't rush the process. Growth doesn't happen through force. It happens through consistency. The woman you are becoming will thank the woman who refused to settle. Remember, attraction built on desperation fades, but attraction built on self-worth endures. When you know who you are, you don't chase love. You attract it effortless, anti-arsenal sly, because you no longer need anyone to complete you. You've become whole, powerful, radiant on your own. And that's the secret no one teaches. Rebuilding your identity isn't just healing. It's becoming magnetic again. Return with calm strength attraction follows emotional mastery. There's a power that comes when you no longer let emotions control your actions. When you stop reacting, stop. Pleading, stop letting every silence trigger your fear of loss. That's when true strength begins to form. Calm strength doesn't mean indifference. It means you've reached a place where your peace is no longer negotiable, where love is a choice, not a weakness. Emotional mastery is not about suppressing feelings. It's about directing them. It's about feeling everything deeply, the hurt, the longing, the disappointment, but refusing to let those feelings dictate your behavior. Because when emotions lead, logic vanishes, and self-respect disappears. You start chasing clarity from people who enjoy your confusion. You start fighting for closure that should have been peace. But when you learn to master your emotions, you take back the steering wheel of your life. You don't have to respond to everything that disturbs your peace. You don't have to prove your worth through reaction. When you return with calm strength, you send a message. I am not here to argue for attention. I am here to embody value, and that energy commands respect. People who once dismissed you begin to notice the D-I-N-C or then deference because calmness is rare and rarity always attracts. Emotional mastery means you've learned that silence can be louder than words, that walking away can say more than staying to argue. It's understanding that power doesn't come from control over others. It comes from control over your band LF. The one who remains composed when others expect chaos always wins, because calmness unsettles the unsteady. It shifts the dynamic without force. When you return to a situation that once made you weak, but this time you are calm, not cold, not angry, just grounded. You rewrite your story. You receive now through your energy that you've evolved. You are no longer seeking validation. You are offering presence. And that shift is magnetic, because people are drawn to what they can easily shake, and nothing shakes calm strength. See, most people operate from emotional chaos. They react to every text, every delay, every word unsaid. But the ones who attract lasting respect are those who stay centered. They feel everything, but they don't fall apart. They understand that peace is not found in control, but in surrender. Surrender to reality, surrender to timing, surrender to the truth that what's meant for you will never need chasing. When you master your emotions, you become unpredictable in the best way. Not erratic, but steady. Not cold, but composed. You no longer get dragged into emotional games because you've outgrown the need to win them. You start speaking less, observing more. You evolve with intention, not impulse. And that quiet confidence becomes your greatest form of attraction. The truth is, calm strength doesn't scream, it whispers. It does. Fight to be noticed, it simply cannot be ignored. Because it carries an energy of certainty, the kind that says, I've been through and the storm, and I no longer fear the rain. That kind of calm doesn't come from pretending, it comes from healing. It comes from facing your emotions, understanding them, and then choosing to act from wisdom rather than pain. Returning with calm strength doesn't mean returning to chase, it means returning to show. Showing what peace looks like after growth, showing how self-control can replace self-doubt, showing how silence can rebuild dignity faster than words ever could. When you walk back into a space that once triggered you and no longer feel the urge to explain yourself, that emoti and dabiano mastery, people will feel it. They'll sense the difference between the old you who needed attention and the new you who values alignment. The more you master your emotions, the more power you reclaim, because people lose control of you the moment you stop needing them to regulate your feelings. That's freedom. That's attraction. Calm strength doesn't beg for understanding, it becomes understanding. It doesn't chase closure, it creates it through detachment. It doesn't fear loss, it accepts it with grace. That's the energy that shifts dynamics, the kind that draws people in, not because you demand attention, but because you radiate peace. And here's what most never realize. The energy you bring back after healing is more powerful than anything you say. When you return with calm strength, you no longer carry resentment, you carry presence. You are not trying to prove you've changed you, and our composure proves it for you. The same person who once made you overthink will now have to think twice about how they approach you. Because your silence, your balance, your peace, they all say, I've learned to control what once controlled me. Emotional mastery doesn't make you untouchable, it makes you unshakable. It's not that nothing affects you. It's that nothing destroys your center anymore. And that's what draws people back. Not the desperate need to be loved, but the calm confidence that you will be fine with or without it. So when you return softly, not to prove, but to be. Let your calmness do the talking. Let your stillness carry the weight of your evolution, because calm strength is the language of emotional authority, and authority attracts what desperation chases away. Remember, Anyone can react, but few can remain calm. Anyone can demand love, but only the strong-ended energy can inspire it through silence and composure. That's the kind of energy that makes people think, what changed? How did they become so grounded? What changed is simple. You stopped being ruled by emotion and started being led by awareness. You stopped chasing validation and started mastering vibration. That's where attraction lives, in the energy of someone who has conquered themselves. So return, not louder, not colder, but calmer, because calm strength doesn't pursue love. It pull. It's in effortlessly, naturally, powerfully. That's what true emotional mastery creates.